guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have my September book haul. So in the month of September, I have hauled 12 books and 2 NetGalley arcs. I'm not really buying too many books at the minute. The majority of the books in this haul are ones that I have bought new. However, they are also ones that I'm going to be reading very, very soon. So 14 books in a month is a little bit more than where I want to be at the moment, but there's not many in here that are impulse buys. So as usual, this haul is going to be split into sections of where I have acquired the books from. This month we have 2 NetGalley arcs, 1 gift, 1 book bought secondhand, 7 books that I bought brand new, and 3 subscription box books. So without further ado, let's get into it, starting with those arcs. So I have recently been approved for 2 books on NetGalley, one of which I have already read. That one was Just Like You by Nick Hornby. This is an adult contemporary released on September 17th that follows a middle-class 41-year-old white woman who is separated from her husband and a 22-year-old working-class black man. So this is a book about their relationship. They are attracted to each other, however there are a lot of obstacles to overcome. 20-year age gap, there's a class difference, and also a societal racial prejudice. This book is also set on the backdrop of Brexit. It's predominantly set in 2016, so we have all those politics going on there as well. And if you would like to see my thoughts on this book, I will leave a link to my mid-month wrap-up up here. The other arc I was approved for was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. This is released in October. It is a young adult fantasy story from the author of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which is one that I'm not interested in. However, the synopsis for this really does sound like something that is up my alley. All I really know about this is that it follows twin sisters, one of which is murdered and the other one uses dark magic to seek revenge for her sister's death, and while doing this she grows closer to one of the princes of hell. So as you guys know, that has quite a few vibes that are up my alley. It sounds like we've got a bit of dark romance in here. It sounds like we've got a little bit of angst, and I'm hoping it does go a little bit on the dark side and this guy doesn't turn out to be deeply misunderstood as a prince of hell. Moving on to the book that I received as a gift, the lovely Michaelin sent me Dreaming Sun Volume 2 by Ichigo Takano. I have been struggling to get hold of this because I believe that manga presses and comic book presses have been hit the hardest by COVID. My best friend reads a lot of comics and he said that pretty much everything is really hard to get hold of now and release dates keep getting pushed back. So when Michaelin found out that I was struggling to get hold of this, she did offer to send it to me and I am very, very grateful. So I read Volume 1 of Dreaming Sun back in July. It's a young adult contemporary manga that follows a girl whose mother has died and her father has moved on, remarried, and they have a new baby. So she feels very pushed out of her family and because of this decides to run away. When she runs away, she finds a drunk guy passed out in the park and he offers her a place to live, providing that she fulfills 3 conditions, and they are: number 1, that she tells him why she ran away; number 2, she finds his missing house key; and number 3, that she has a dream and falls in love. So she goes to live with this guy and 2 other boys who go to her high school. She develops a crush on one of them and it's just a really cute, funny, heartwarming contemporary manga. The one book that I bought secondhand this month was Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. This is the August and September book for my book club where we are reading the first 6 books in the Realm of the Elderling series in 2020, and I did not have a physical copy of this because I am collecting the very small mass market editions. I believe that these are the first editions that were published in the UK. So I was reading the ebook bind-up I had of this entire series until I found this one for £2.90 on eBay, and I have already read this one. It is adult epic fantasy and it focuses on ships called live ships, which are ships made out of wizard wood, and when 3 generations of a family have died on the ship, it comes to life. So this series follows the Vestrit family who have a live ship and the ship is just about to come to life. However, there is a meddling brother-in-law on a power trip in here who messes everything up for a couple of members of the Vestrit family. We also have a character who's a pirate who wants to be the next pirate king, and also the perspective of sea serpents, which is a very confusing perspective to read from, and it's definitely not the dominant one in there, but it is in there as well. But yeah, I really like this book. I really like Robin Hobb and I'm glad that I managed to find this edition for a good price. Moving on to my August subscription box books, the August Fairy Loot and Owlcrate book were the same and they were Star Daughter by Shavita Thakrar. This one is the Owlcrate edition, this one is the Fairy Loot. This is a young adult fantasy debut standalone that follows a young girl who is half star. Her mother has already gone back into the sky to take her place in a constellation, and so the main character has been hiding so that she doesn't have to do the same. However, one day she accidentally burns her father with starfire, and the only way to heal that is to find a full-blooded star to do it. So that is what she is aiming to do. I really love both editions. I think I prefer the Owlcrate edition slightly because it's purple, has stunning end pages, and the spines on both of these are beautiful. The Fairy Loot edition has the standard cover, but it does have these gorgeous gold glittery edges. When I've read this book, if it becomes one of my new favorite books, I will end up keeping both of the editions. However, if it does not become one of my new favorite books and I don't need 2 editions, I will probably end up gifting the Fairy Loot edition to my best friend. I should probably mention as well that the Fairy Loot edition does also have this stunning inner just jacket art. The August Illumicrate book was The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is a sci-fi that sounds really interesting. I'm really excited to read this. So in this book, 380 alternate realities have been unlocked and people are eager to explore these realities. However, you are not able to enter a different reality if you are currently alive in that reality. So of the 380 realities that have already been unlocked, the main character Kara is dead in all but 8. So she is employed to travel through all of these dimensions as she is able to do so. So I really love things like that, like parallel universes. I'm really excited to this. I hope that it's as good as it sounds. The Illumicrate edition as well is really, really pretty and has these fluorescent pink edges. Okay, so moving on to the books that I bought new, which is the biggest stack that we have today. The first 4 I can get out of the way really easily and talk about them all together because they are the first 4 books in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. These are the UK paperbacks, so each book is half of a book, so these make up the first 2 books in the Stormlight Archive. So I have parts 1 and 2 of Way of Kings and parts 1 and 2 of Words of Radiance. I do really like these split editions because they make really big books seem less intimidating. So each of the books in the Stormlight Archive is a minimum of 1,000 pages, but these are only like 500 or 600 pages each. So they're definitely a blessing. I also just really love the design of the UK paperbacks and how they look together, and I have the rest of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere books in these editions as well. So the plot of this I'm not too sure about. I will be starting Way of Kings very shortly after filming this video, but at the moment I know a little bit about every series Brandon Sanderson has written aside from this one. I know that there's a character in here called Kaladin that everybody absolutely loves, and I know that it has something to do with shards. I was reading a little bit into the lore of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, and I believe that there are a certain amount of shards and the wielders of the shards have a whole ton of power, and I do believe that the Stormlight Archive focuses on these shards, but that is pretty much all I know about this series at this moment. The next one we have was a pre-order, and that is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. This is the sequel to Serpent and Dove, which is a young adult fantasy romance series that follows a witch called Louise LeBlanc. Lou has run away from her coven and is living as a thief in medieval France, and one day she gets into a little bit of an altercation with a witch hunter called Reed, and because this altercation has like tarnished his reputation, the archbishop, I think he's an archbishop, tells them that they have to get married. So it's like a forced marriage and also an enemies to lovers story. Nobody knows that Lou is a witch, but obviously she is quite aware that Reed is a witch hunter. But even though Reed doesn't know that she's a witch, she is a woman who does not come up to the standards of how the witch hunters expect women to behave. They expect like modesty and obedience and things like that. And yeah, there is a plot line in here, like a fantasy plot line, as there's been an ongoing war between the witches and the witch hunters for a very long time, as you can probably imagine. But this series, or at least the first book, is predominantly a romance. And the last 2 books I have to show you are both comics. The first one is Blackbird Volume 1 by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel. I picked this up on recommendation from Jade from JD Ray Reads. I've been interested in it for a while because the art style is absolutely stunning. However, I know that the artist who works on this comic is the same one who works on The Wicked and the Divine, which is also stunning, but I haven't heard great things about the actual storyline of that one. So I've been waiting until somebody I knew read this and could tell me whether it was worth me investing in. I only know the bare basics of the plot in this one, but it is set in Los Angeles where there is a hidden magical underworld. The main character's sister gets kidnapped, and so she sets off to get her sister back. And And the final one I've had, I'm so excited that I finally have this. It is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Volume 1, High School is Hell. This is the reboot by Boom Comics, so it is, I want to say it's the story of Buffy the Vampire Slayer but modernized. I don't know whether they follow the plot of the TV show. I don't think they do, because this is Volume 1 and Spike is in it, who is only introduced into the show in season 2, but it is a modernized Buffy reboot. And when I found this and discovered what it actually was, I was so excited, but my comic book store didn't have it in, so I waited for a while. I went back, they still didn't have it in, so I finally bit the bullet and ordered it online. I had seen this around for quite a while before I even knew what it was, and I wondered why it was being promoted so heavily, because Buffy hasn't been a big deal for a long time, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer Volume 1 of the original comic would definitely not be being promoted in 2020. But when I was in my comic book store one day, I actually picked it up and looked at it, and just the modernization of the characters in here and the art, I absolutely had to have this. If you guys didn't know or hadn't noticed, I am a huge Buffyverse stan, but I mean, look at Willow and look at Spike and Drew. How could I not have this? If you guys are unfamiliar with Buffy the Vampire Slayer at all, it is a 90s TV show that follows a 16-year-old girl who is a vampire slayer. Only one girl in every generation is a vampire slayer, and the fate of the world is on her shoulders. However, Buffy does things a little bit differently. She makes friends, she tells them that she's a vampire slayer, and together they fight the forces of evil. The characters have been reimagined a little bit in this one. So Willow is like a hippie-ish indie witch. She is also gay from the beginning of this graphic novel series instead of it being later on. Xander is a gamer. I think Giles is about the same. Angel and Spike look banging. Cordelia is still the popular preppy cheerleader, and I think Buffy's like slightly on the indie side. But I'm so desperate to read this, and I believe that they have now started a Willow spin-off as well. Okay, so those were the 14 books that I have hauled in the month of September. I do actually know that I have a few more books on their way to me. I think I have at least 5 books including an October pre-order that will be coming to me in the next month. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to have an October book haul. It is possible, but I may hold off until November and do like a pre-Christmas collective book haul. We'll see how it goes. Please let me know down in the comments of this video whether you have read any of these, which ones of the ones that I haven't read should I prioritize, and please also don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.